Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
I, 28 male, found out about my GF's, 28 female, affair with her boss, 40s male, a week ago. Should I confront her before I leave? We've been together for 5 years, and I'd been putting money up for a down payment on a house and a wedding, but that's all gone now. Every morning, I went for a run, but I couldn't find my phone since it was misplaced. I asked her to call my mobile phone, but she denied and instead handed me her phone. I accepted her offer. I had some reservations about her behavior during the previous 2 months, so I decided to eavesdrop on her conversations. For the sake of argument, let's pretend that all of her business excursions and late nights were really pretext for up with her boss, who happens to be a married man. No one knows when it all started, but based on the communications I've received, it seems to be occurring on a regular basis throughout the office. It came to an end when the lockdown was implemented, and the wife also learned about the affair. As a consequence, the boss was forced to put a stop to the practice. This also explained why GF was so irritable throughout the month of March. I regularly found her sobbing uncontrollably, but the reason she gave me was that one of her friend's mothers had died of ovarian cancer. It has been quite useful for us over the previous many months. It was a pleasure to spend so much time with her, and it seemed that everything was in working condition. We chatted about marriage, children, and what the future may hold for each of us. Her involvement in the relationship seemed to be greater than it had been earlier this year, as shown by her appearance. I had already started saving for a down payment on a house, but due to COVID I was forced to take a wage drop. As a consequence, I've been on the lookout for fresh opportunities since last month. I've narrowed my job prospects down to 2 positions that have become available. There are 2 positions available, one in the same region with a substantial salary hike, and another on the West Coast with a significant pay raise with what is arguably the best company in my industry. The proposals have not yet been communicated to her since the negotiations are still ongoing. All of this, however, occurred only a few days ago. Since starting to work remotely, girlfriend has had little communication with her supervisor. However, their discussions resumed at the beginning of this month. At first, it was all about how much they both regret what they had done to their respective relationships, how he had to work hard to restore his wife's confidence, and so on. The tone then altered in the second week, with emphasis on how they still had emotions for one another, but that it had to end. She also said how she was looking forward to marrying me and how it would crush her heart if I found out about the adultery. Anyway, all that messaging led them to decide to meet up for one final time before calling it quits between them for good. I discovered out about it all last Friday, and they intend to meet up this weekend. She also informed me that she is going to assist a buddy who is returning to her homeland this weekend. I couldn't get off the couch for an hour after I finished reading everything. It felt like my body weighed a ton. I began to imagine them having and making fun of me behind my back, and all kinds of nonsense ran through my thoughts. Last week was a living nightmare for me. Looking at her, who was ecstatic about the weekend, made everything worse. Anyway, I'm going to pack everything tomorrow while she's gone. I'm on my way back to my folks' house. I have yet to tell them anything. Rather, I have not spoken to anybody. I've held everything inside of me, and it's getting out of hand. That is why I'm writing this. Else, I will go insane. I intend to accept the position on the West Coast. It'll be distant for a long anyhow, so it's not a big deal. I have no intention of leaving anything behind, not a letter, not a text, not anything. As soon as I get on the road, I'll block her. This week has been spent organizing my finances and speaking with my landlord. And now I'm finished. What I'm curious about is whether or not I'm on the correct track. Should I discuss it with her? Honestly, April and May were great months for us, but I don't believe I can trust her anymore. Even gazing at her face while chatting to her the previous 2 days was difficult. I simply want it to be over. It's simply that she was looking forward to a life with me, and I'm sorry that our relationship has failed her. Story 2. Wife cheated with younger guy. My wife and I have been married for around 17 years. I am 39 years old, and she is 42 years old. We were married shortly after having our first kid together, and, to be honest, things were going well in our marriage. So this came as a surprise, at least to me. The quality of ours was wonderful, and we had regular and satisfying. Then something happened, and I'm not sure what to do about it. She had an affair with a 22-year-old guy while we were together. He's the son of a family friend who moved here to attend college, and he was staying with us since we had a spare room available to him. Due to the fact that both my wife and I knew his parents, who are fantastic people, we felt comfortable allowing him to stay with us. When he arrived, everything was running well for him. He got along well with our children, was respectful, and adhered to our rules and regulations. They were quiet at night, they fit in well with us, and they were not a burden. My children have returned to school, and I have returned to the office, but my wife continues to work from home, and my son is taking a large number of online courses since his school has a hybrid style. I was aware that they were getting closer to us, but I didn't pay attention to it since, after all, why would I? As a result of my previous marriage, I was not frightened that things may go wrong with this guy, despite the fact that he is gorgeous, tall, and muscular. Then I started to get an unsettling feeling that things wasn't quite right. My wife would express a desire for less, would be less interested in it, would be less affectionate in general, and would just withdraw as I witnessed her beaming with delight over the new guy. She'd experience cramps, a headache, and be cranky one night when she hadn't previously shown any of these symptoms, and we had a quite busy life at the time. Occasionally, she would have short spurts of being her usual self in terms of tenderness, but this was only fleeting, and she would quickly revert to being more distant. This was a source of anxiety for me. I made the decision to return home for lunch one day because I wanted to see whether spending more time with my wife would make a difference in our current situation. My home is not far distant, but it is still a significant drive. Therefore, I was granted permission to take a longer lunch break throughout the workday. In the end, I get home to discover that it is unusually quiet, with no one in the living room or kitchen, despite the fact that it is midday. I walk downstairs to my wife's office, but she isn't in it. I'm disappointed. Then I hear something coming from our bedroom, which I assume is a noise. It was the sound of my wife moaning, which I was used to hearing on a regular basis. When I heard her moan, my stomach fell and twisted, and I had a strong need to puke up the whole thing. Even though I experienced a brief moment of disbelief, I was able to comprehend what was going on since my suspicions had been confirmed. As I heard some more grunts and my wife answered yes, I felt ill to my stomach. I made my way to our bedroom as quietly as I possibly could, sometimes hearing moans, bed squeaks, and the slapping sound of bodies smashing together during, which increased louder as I got closer to the door. As soon as I walked through the door, I saw their garments on the floor along with my wife and the new guy, who were sleeping on the bed, they having, with their backs to the headboard and away from the door, so I had a side-angle view of their backs, and they were completely unaware that I was looking at them. I just stood there frozen as I saw my wife being by this guy, who tugged her hair in her, which she seemed to like. I wasn't sure what to do, whether to confront them, surprise her later with divorce papers, or get outraged, so I decided to wait it out instead of reacting immediately. I returned to my car, drove away, and sat in a parking lot, repeating what I had seen over and over again. I was astonished. When I returned home, she behaved like nothing had happened and kissed me, but all I could think about was how this had certainly been in her mouth earlier in the day. Even though he was kind as usual, all I could think about was what an arrogant couple he and his wife were. I can't believe she did such a terrible thing to me. I can't seem to get the feeling of seeing her clothes hurled to the floor and her being from my mind after the first gasp. This occurred only a few days ago, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I just wanted to get this off my chest since I don't have anybody to speak to about it, and I'm not sure what to do about it right now.